Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Tottenham 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. A very comfortable performance in the end for Tottenham. A comfortable performance, a comfortable win. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Thoroughly deserved. Thoroughly deserved when all is being said and done in relation to this performance. It's interesting, really, because Spurs have looked in a couple of games under Ryan Mason. They have appeared completely and utterly out of their depth, like they have no idea. The Man City final against Leeds United. But then they've had other performances, just reviewing them like today, where they look comfortable, they look very good. How they beat Sheffield United. Even their game against Southampton, I thought was a fairly comfortable display from Tottenham. What next is the big question today. In terms of reviewing this match, I'm sure there are Spurs fans that enjoyed the win. I'm sure there are elements of selection or why wasn't this player subbed on earlier? I'm sure that they're talking about that. But in the grand scheme of things, Ryan Mason isn't going to be here in 2 weeks' time. His time's going to end. You look at the favourites to take over as the permanent Tottenham manager. I'm looking at them here. You've got Simeone Inzaghi, Scott Parker, Graham Potter, Brendan Rodgers. They're the ones that there's good odds on. Then you start going to the Santos and Martinez's and Conte, Rafa Benitez. These individuals, Sarri was mooted a few weeks ago. That's 20-1. That's a massive long shot. Scott Parker, Graham Potter, these individuals, they're the people that are coming in next. They are going to be the managers to try and take Tottenham forward. But what next? What needs to be done to improve this team? What kind of summer is needed? Who do they need to keep? And who has to leave? Who has to go? I want to hear from you in relation to that today. Of course, we're going to do fan cams. We're going to open up the lines for you. Half an hour till the Liverpool-West Brom game. We'll be covering that live at full time as well. Thank you to Leg and Sweet, by the way, for your super chat before we went live. And he said that Jadon Sancho is overrated. Just an hyped Englishman acting like he played for Man United. He could easily flop, is what Lang and Sweet believes. Only read that out because it's his super chat, so I thought I'd put it out there. Let's go to a few of these comments here. Let's go to some of your comments here. Dele Alli was good, is what Jamal thinks. Yeah, I thought Dele Alli was good today. And I put a tweet out a little bit earlier where I was listing players that I think Spurs have. I'm going to get this tweet up on my phone. All right, I'm gonna go through these players because for me, I feel like Spurs have some players within their team, right? I listed these individuals: Kane, Son, Bale, Dele, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Hojbjerg, Reguilon, Lloris, Mora, Bergwijn. That's me as an outsider looking in at Tottenham, and I thought to myself, pretty decent players there. Yes, the back line needs looking at. You need a right back. You need a brand new centre back. But midfield's pretty good. The attack is sublime. The right coach could get you playing good football. In fact, the right coach with the right mentality, you could achieve in the next 5 or 6 years what Leicester have done in the last 5 or 6 years. Win a trophy or two, win a title or two, play very good football. The biggest mistake was replacing Poch with Jose Mourinho, and then the squad just rotted away. The squad rotted away because what Jose wanted out of a squad, how he wanted them to play, personnel, isn't never going to match that of a Mauricio Pochettino. So you then end up in this situation where you've almost got this hybrid of a squad being created for Jose to play Jose's way with the squad in the Poch image before it. And of course, that's already fallen foul. The question's going to be whether they continue in the Jose direction or they go back to the Poch direction. For me, play better. When you look at those players there are named, they're all technically good football players in their own right. 3 or 4 signings this summer, the right managerial appointment. And I'm saying this with chest. Tottenham could be back well and truly challenging for the top 4 next season and fighting on a European front as well in the Europa League and could genuinely challenge. There's the mental blocks to get over. There's no doubt about that. And that's why I say the right manager, if the right manager comes in, there is a space and there is an opportunity to do something of sorts. But that appointment has got to be absolutely spot on. Comment here says, Leicester are officially bigger than Spurs. Well, in the contemporary game, yes, they've won a Premier League and an FA Cup in the last 5 to 6 years. And there isn't too much before that. It isn't like Tottenham are off the back of like Man United that in the last 20 years have won so many titles. There's only been 2 League Cups in the last 20 years. So I totally get where you're coming from with that. And I think seeing Leicester achieve what they did yesterday, it should be a kick up the backside to all 3 clubs here, Man United, Arsenal, and Tottenham. As in the way the clubs are run, the way they operate, the direction that the clubs are going in is very, very key indeed. We're going to go to some fan cams now. I want people to come on and have their say. First up, back with us today. It's been a while since this lady's been on with us. Maya is here to have her say. Welcome back to the terrace. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. First of all, how was the protest yesterday?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. They weren't Arsenal. They weren't Chelsea. You know, those were huge and they were great. But it was still good to see a good turnout of Tottenham fans there, trying to send a message. So yeah, I feel like we did what we could in COVID times. You know, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, change will come, but who knows?
No, I totally agree. And look, we'll speak about the game quickly. Good performance today, solid performance today. But I suppose you're not really focusing on what's happening now. It's what's going to happen next season, what's going to happen in the summer. From your point of view, I mean, how do you assess this season, and who are you looking at to be the replacement for sort of Ryan Mason's interim period? Because there seems to be a good base squad here, but it's just there seems to be sort of this confusion at the minute of what direction you're going in moving forward.
Yeah, I think having Jose made us realise that maybe we didn't appreciate Pochettino football. You know, that attacking, forward-thinking football, we missed it. And I feel like that is the direction now that Daniel Levy is going to try and go in with the next manager, because we've suffered under Jose playing defensive football. So I think he wants to go back to that. So I think he won't mind picking another project manager and sacrificing maybe the trophies and the honours that this manager has to their name for the style of football. So maybe he'll look to a Graham Potter. I know that name has been thrown around, but he does play good football. Yes, he hasn't, won everything, and he's only just been in the Premier League for how many seasons, but that is the direction. I'm not saying Graham Potter specifically, but that is the direction that I think we will go in. We'll look for another young, fresh project manager.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And I think that's probably important, especially if you're not going to go and compete toe-to-toe financially with the Chelseas, Man Uniteds, Manchester Cities. You've got to do it another way. And if you look at Leicester as an example, I think they've done it the right way. And I think Spurs can spend slightly more than Leicester. But if you get the recruitment right and you have the right manager in charge, playing the right brand of football, at least you're not going to get the same turmoil that was created under Jose. I think when you're not winning enough games and the football's putrid to look at, it always creates a more toxic environment sort of amongst fans in relation to that. Personnel-wise, I think on the attacking front, you've got some good quality players. The Harry Kane rumour that he may or may not leave. Where do you think Spurs need to address from a personnel perspective in the summer?
So attacking-wise, obviously if Kane goes, we need a replacement that isn't going to come in and be, no disrespect to Vinicius, but we need someone that's going to come in, and no one is going to replace Harry Kane. He's arguably one of the best strikers in the world, but we need someone that's going to come in and still be at a certain level. If he stays, great, but we don't know what's going to happen. If he stays, let's say hypothetically he does, I think we need to address the right wing position. I think we need to address a central attacking midfielder maybe. It's nice to see Dele, in these latter stages of the season come back into his own. He looked outstanding today, but I'm not sure on his future. I like Tanguy Ndombele. He likes to carry the ball. I think we need another Eriksen-esque type player. But definitely that right wing position. Obviously, Bale's going to return, and we've got Lucas, Bergwijn. I mean, Lamella, God knows what he's doing, but none of them are really as clinical, as good as Son. So I think for me, that's what we need.
No, I hear you completely. I think what's going to be interesting is I've seen a lot of people write off a lot of Tottenham players. But for instance, if I look at Bergwijn as an example, I think a Graham Potter or a Brendan Rodgers, just throwing those two names out there as managers that are still linked to you, even Scott Parker, with the way they play football, I think they'll feel like new signings. I almost feel like those individuals could do something really special under a more progressive, modern manager. Just someone who actually puts their arms around them and makes them feel welcome. Because even under Ryan Mason, some of your performances, I think, have been quite good. And no disrespect to him, he's a 28, 29-year-old man. He's nowhere near ready to be managing a team the size of Tottenham. But you've still seen those moments where the team looks a bit better. The football's been good. I was looking at the stats today as well as watching the game. There's something like 24 shots on goal today. So there is creativity there. I think there's a base. I think Spurs have got a good base to grow from, but the appointment is going to be so important. And as long as that football is sort of good looking and attractive, that is going to be key. On Harry Kane, how confident are you that he'll stay for another season?
I'm 50-50. I believe he wants to go, and rightfully so. I think if I were him, I'd want to go. But it does come down to Levy at the end of the day. There's only so much power Harry Kane has in this situation. As much as he is the player, it's scary that he only has so much power, because we know what Daniel Levy's like. He's a businessman, and he won't settle for what Harry Kane is worth. You know, he won't go any lower than, I think, somewhere between 80 to 100. In today's market, that might be very unlikely for an injury-prone, 28-year-old. Who knows? And when you've got people like Haaland in the market as well, like, I do think it will be a domino effect as well, that a lot of things depend on where he goes and what he does. And I think then other strikers and attacking players will sort of follow his movement. I would love to see him stay, but I think for his own sake, maybe he does have to go and move on and win some trophies. So,
yeah, no, I completely hear you on that. I think there is this element, and every Spurs fan I speak to, including my dad, there is this desire for him to stay because they love him, but equally knowing where you are as a football club and how likely it is that you're going to be challenging for titles and moving in the direction that Harry Kane has quite openly spoken about wanting. But then again, he's worth a lot of money. Who's got those funds available this summer to go out there and spend? Right now, the only two clubs it looks like are Man City in the Premier League, Man City and Chelsea. And we know how hard it is to do business with Chelsea. So it's going to be a real tough one. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But listen, Maya, thank you very much for coming on, having your say. Nice to see you again.
You too.
And we'll speak soon. Yeah, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much there, Maya. Make sure you're hitting that like and that share button. Next on, that we've got KJ backstage, Alex backstage, Flicks backstage, Egal backstage. But next up, we're going to go to Alan to have his say with us. How you doing, mate? You're on mute, brother.
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm very, very good, mate. Comfortable performance today?
The first half was awful, apart from the goal. I thought we were slow. The build-up play was slow. Energy was slow. We got the goal and then we kicked on in the second half, which is what we haven't done much of this season. So that was more positive in the second half. But still in that game, although Wolves were poor, so it was an easier game. Yeah, we looked better, but against a half-decent team like Leeds, we got torn apart. And I think a lot of areas need addressing in the summer for this team to be able to try and compete for the top four. But it all depends on if they get the right manager in.
And mate, I totally understand that view and that sentiment. And again, today's game, it must be a weird scenario to be in, because you know Ryan Mason isn't going to be your manager next year. So I did see people criticizing, why is he playing this guy and not doing it? I just thought, why even bother with that train of thought until the new manager comes in? It's almost irrelevant. who do you want? Who do you want to come in and who do you think is good enough to take this squad forward, play the right football, and get you back to look? You're in the top 6, but you really want to be challenging full throttle next year for at least a Champions League position.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not directing anything at Mason. Mine's at Levy and above because Levy's put Mason in this position. So for people to point at Mason isn't for me worth acknowledging at this time. All the managers I wanted have said no, or we've not got them. So at the moment, I've seen some names thrown around like Conte. I wouldn't mind him. Good manager. I've heard about Inzaghi from coming in from Italy. He plays attacking football, which could work. Potter is an option. I'm still not sold on him. I honestly don't know. I think the managers that I wanted have all gone. So at this moment in time, I couldn't say who brings them in. But for me, there's a lot of areas that need to be plugged, especially defence. And like Maya said previously, we've never replaced Eriksen. So there's a massive disjoint between the defence and the attack. No one can transition to play like Eriksen used to do. So at times in that game, we had the front four well away from the back four. And that's why we were so slow in building up, because it had to come back and then we had to close together as a team and then build again. That's why it was so slow. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
No, I hear you on that one. It's the right personnel, the right manager. I'm not a Spurs fan, so I have no dog in the fight. But when I look at the names on the list, I don't know much about Simeone Inzaghi. That right now is one of the bookies' favourites.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about him as a manager, so I won't comment. But I see Scott Parker, Brendan Rodgers, and Graham Potter as the top 3 as Premier League managers. I think as you go, Brendan Rodgers less of a risk, but that's why he's going to be harder to get. You've got Graham Potter and Scott Parker who play more expansive football, but nobody has any idea about how they handle pressure at the highest level. And the difference between when Poch took over to now is there is an expectation.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they're going to be good enough. And then you start going further down the line. Conte is the one that stands out as a serial winner. Rafa Benitez, but he's 20-1 odds. That seems too far-fetched for me for it to actually be him. So it's weird. I thought Spurs would have had a new manager. Did you expect to have a new manager lined up by now? Is it sort of shocked you as a Tottenham fan?
Does that take
long? Oh, I think we've lost Alan there. Maybe he can call back. Tahir says, Tottenham fans not working today. Next on the show, we are going to go to KJ and Gal very soon, but next up, Flix is with us here. What are you saying, Flix?
Yo, I'm very well. You?
Yeah, look at that. He's happy. Look at that. Win. Flix is happy.
Of course I'm happy. We've bagged bloody 3 points and we got a clean sheet. It's very rare this season to get a freaking clean sheet, but you know.
I hear you on that. I mean, listen, a sort of dead rubber game to a degree.
Yeah.
Where's your head at moving forward? We always spoke about managers already. In terms of personnel, who's got to go and who's got to stay moving forward?
I've said many times, we've got a good handful of players, starting with the defence. You've got Eric Dyer, Sanchez, who am I forgetting? Serge Aurier. Then you've got your midfield, you've got your Winks, you've got Sissoko's. There's a lot of dead wood. Even the likes of Vinicius, who hasn't had much, not had much game time, but just not cutting it for me. We need quality. We need quality. I like to see Gareth Wales stay for another season. I thought he'd done a very good game today. But yeah, man, we have had a very good handful of players that need to leave.
Yeah, I do get that, and that's going to be a lot of hard work getting rid of them as well. Are those the areas that need to leave? Are they the most important areas for you to strengthen as well?
Of course, yeah, definitely the defence. You know, we was very lucky today to get a clean sheet. Like I said, it's very rare this season to get a clean sheet. Eric Dyer is not a centre back. Sanchez again, gone way downhill for me. Sergio again, it looks like he's been linked with PSG again. So obviously he could be on his way. Even Doherty, another player for me, not cutting it. He had good times at Wolves, but for me, no disrespect to Wolves, but stepping from Wolves to Tottenham's a big step in my opinion, and he just ain't cutting it in a Spurs shirt. So we need to rebuild. We need to rebuild, and I can't see it happening when we got Levy there, because obviously I don't know if you heard, there was a protest at the lane yesterday. The only way we're going to do this is if it's going to go two ways. Either Levy sells up or he finally pulls money out of his back pocket and starts investing in the club. That's it.
Yeah, and most Spurs fans don't see that happening. I think it's
no, I don't personally.
And look, you had your protest yesterday. A good number turned up. You know, a lot of good noise being made. You know, I saw pictures and videos from it, and it was good to see Spurs fans coming together to try and. In fairness, some of the meals that people went out for afterwards looked really nice as well. I see some pictures. I was like, look, honestly, I think there was. I can't remember who put it out. There was one that was in a shop. I think I went to a Cypriot or a Turkish restaurant afterwards. The food looked banging. I made me hungry. You know, sometimes you picture food and you're like, oh, I've got to go to my kitchen and make some food. I'm starving. So they looked like a really good day yesterday, but it's a tough one. What do you see next season looking like? You know, how you feel right now, how it's being run. Do you see yourselves back challenging for the top four, challenging for titles, challenging for cups? Where's your head at with it right now?
Look, Terry, I would love to see us challenging for top four trophies. Like the start of this season, put it this way, at the start of this season, I said we're going to win at least 2 trophies and get top 4. We have done none of that. We have done none of that. At the end of the day, like I said in this stream, we need to rebuild, and it needs Levy and them man to step up. You know, that's the only way we can do it. That's the only way we can do it. We've got some quality there, but we need to rebuild. Poch said it before he got the boot. It's time to rebuild now. Levy knows that. It's just where he's a businessman, and all he thinks about is money. He's greedy. He needs to settle himself down now and start bucking his ideas up and start backing the team now. So that's the only way we can do it.
No, I hear you on that, mate. Listen, Flicks, thank you very much for calling in, Nevin. You'll say, really appreciate that, bro. Top man. Thank you. We're gonna let Alan finish off. Alan's back with us now. Sorry, mate. The signal seemed to throw you off earlier.
That's absolutely fine. It's all good.
Yeah, where were we?
Where you were asking about something to do with the manager, I think you were asking.
Yeah, just in terms of, I was suggesting, like the Scott Parkers and the Graham Potters are not proven at managing at the level that Spurs are at and want to be at. How do you see the appointment of one of them going next season? Do you see yourselves comfortably making top 4, challenging, being inconsistent? Where's your head at with that right now?
Well, if I look back at it, when Mourinho came in, I thought he was the manager to win a stuff, challenge at the top. I was expecting all that, and it didn't happen. So for me, looking at that with a proven manager not taking us there, a manager that hasn't been who's only ever been relegation, hasn't been tested with a big club, I don't want to go down the same route as what Arsenal have been with Arteta. I think if you were to pick out the managers from the bottom, I would take Potter over Parker. I just think he's got a better brand of football. I think it's more sustainable than what Parker, and I just think because Parker's got the relegation thing attached to him now, that could be a thing that plays. But for me, I said all along earlier in the season when I first started coming on here that I would like to take Brendan Rodgers. I don't think we'll get him now he's won a trophy. I would like to see him manage Spurs, especially now he's won a trophy, but I just don't think... I think they'll want ridiculous money for him. I don't think he'll come to us, considering where Leicester are on an upward trajectory. Depending on what we do in the summer, it could be more seasons of this for Spurs, because I don't trust Daniel Levy getting the right manager in, or the ball back in, giving the funds for the manager to rebuild in the areas that we need to. Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see.
I do hear you on that, mate. Listen, Alan, thanks for coming back, and we'll speak to you again soon, mate. Top man. It feels like a weird day today listening to Spurs fans, because Flitz was happy they won, but it almost just feels like it's the end of the season now. It's over. It's done with. It's there isn't that much attention. But I really wanted to speak to Tottenham fans today to gauge where they're at, and the answer's been pretty similar from all of them when you read between the lines. We have no idea what's going on. We don't know what our plans are, who our manager is, who we're going to buy and sell, what's happening with Harry Kane. It must be really troubling as a Spurs fan to be in that situation right now. We're getting Alex and KJ on soon, but first, Igal is here with us. What you saying, mate?
Listen, I'm on the campaign saying free Harry Kane from Tottenham Hotspur. Free Harry Kane, and I think both parties would actually be better from this. In my opinion, Harry Kane, you're currently stat padding at Tottenham, not winning any major honors, constantly getting overrated and hyped, being one of the best strikers in the world, but not actually getting over the line with any major honors. Yesterday, Leicester showed you that now Jamie Vardy has a better legacy in the Premier League, winning the title and winning the FA Cup with Leicester. being the first guy to do FA Cup and win the league with Leicester. So you know what? In my opinion, Jamie Vardy, what he's been able to do, he stamped his legacy in the game. Harry Kane, in order for you to do that, you have to leave Tottenham. Now, Tottenham fans, this is not a dig at you guys. You guys should want him to leave. You guys should want your club to reboost your squad. And this is not banter. This is not salt. This is straight facts at this point. I genuinely believe Harry Kane should leave. We should hashtag free Harry Kane should be trending in the comment section right now. And I'm generally saying he needs to go, because if he was to go to Manchester United, Manchester City, even Chelsea, or anywhere abroad, that equals trophies for him, and it will continue his legacy, and he'll be a great striker, and then he'll get the credit that he deserves from the people like me and everyone else who's saying he needs to win something before he gets touted as one of the best strikers in the world.
Listen, I agree with your sentiment 100%. Harry Kane has to try and do everything he can to force himself away from Spurs, even if they appoint the right manager and they start building. I think it's 2 or 3 years until they're even in a 2 or 3 seasons before they're ready to, maybe, if it all goes well and it all goes to plan, to then start challenging for a title. Is 2 or 3 years. Harry Kane's going to be in his early 30s by then, and he could waste it. He needs to go somewhere that's ready to go, that's ready to challenge right now, instantly, for major honours and trophies. I really do.
Can I say one thing before you go?
Yeah.
City, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, Liverpool are the 6 teams that have won either the league, FA Cup, or any major honor since 1992 when Spurs last did it. In my opinion, if you're going to talk about top 6 plus 1, be respectful, and the plus 1 is Tottenham. And next, after that, if you're going to talk about Hojberg, guys, today Hojberg did good. He got a goal and assist, but this is the first time he's done it, and he's been in the Premier League for over 145 games. So all you guys hyping about Hojberg today, relax.
He's a holding midfielder, bruv.
I know, but what they're doing is he gets a goal and assist one game, you get overhyped. So have the same energy. That's all I'm saying.
On the top 6 thing, you don't think the plus 1 should be Arsenal? Because you're the one.
I think you do that to trigger Arsenal fans, but let's be real. The plus 6 it should be the team that has won the league.
On trophies, I've always based the top 6 thing on the teams that are in the top 6.
Okay, so what?
Yeah.
So
on a consistent basis. So let's say, for instance, next season, I'm going to throw a weird name in there.
So if Liverpool,
if
Liverpool or Spurs finish 7th, are you going to add West Ham to the top 6 plus 2?
No, I was about to answer that. It's about, I think it needs to be at least 2 years in it or out of it. So Leicester have gone into it because it's 2 years on the bounce, they're in it. Where Arsenal, 2 years on the bounce, out of it. I think at least 2 years. I think, but we can
20 plus years in it. And you know what? Liverpool were out of it for 4 years. Chelsea have been out of it for in and out for a couple of years. Every team yo-yos at times. We're just been consistently bad for 2 years, actually 4 years now. And it's going to be a 5th if we don't fix up. And we know that. And you know what? Congratulations to Leicester. Commiserations to Chelsea fans. I'm still laughing. Ha, ha, ha. Let's keep it moving.
Listen, Igal, top man. Speak to you soon, bro. Next on the show, Alex is here with us. Alex, how you doing, mate? You're on mute, by the way.
Okay, right. I've got a few things I need to say. Because I just want to just get this out, to be honest with you. I switched off. I've switched off since Jose got sacked, to be honest with you. I know. And I'm going to tell you why. We're a mess. We're a mess of a club. We've got no clue who we want as a manager. I can tell you why, because of how many names that we've heard since Jose's got sacked, 20 names or something like that. That's not a top club. That's a joke. I heard about the Ten Hag rumours and stuff. They were interested. That was PR. That's rubbish. I'm 33 years old and I can see it's rubbish, because if Tottenham were interested in Ten Hag, he'd be Tottenham manager right now. And to be honest, I wasn't even sure about Ten Hag in the first place. And before anybody says anything on the Pochettino, because I know Pochettino's going to come out, because people said I'm a Poch fan. I say no, because in this team at the moment, I don't see it as a structure to work as a structure. Watching for the Tottenham manager is like a reality TV show, like the X Factor auditions. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, and it's just down to lack of structure. We panicking on decisions. It's just, I'm fed up, really, to be honest with you. We've got two players that are disillusioned in Harry Kane and Son. We've got players that don't know whether their futures are coming or going. We don't know whether we're going to buy players or sell players. We've got a board that doesn't, don't know whether they're coming or going. We don't know. The fans are in or out about the owners and stuff like that. And you come to all those conclusions, and all you can say is next season. Why are we worried about being in Europe next season? You'd be worried about being relegation candidates next season. You see, and that's big enough for me to say that, but that's the reality, because we're now changing from finding a manager beginning of the season, before the end of the season, to end of the season now. It's a joke, absolute joke. And I can't give you any confidence because we've got no plans of what we're going to do. We should have a plan what's going to happen from next season to next season. You see what I'm saying? That's a long-term plan.
You are right, Alex. You are right.
Just before you finish, the reason why I'm not confident as well, we've only had 3 managers that have been successful under this ownership. I'm not going to go on about the ownership, but
Successful?
3 managers.
Who's been
Martignol, Harry Redknapp, and Pochettino, and they weren't even first choice.
And they didn't. And you won one. And how many trophies did you win in that time?
Well, you know how many. I don't need to name them. You know how many.
Just remind us, Alex. How many did you win? One.
You know how many, mate. You know how many. I don't need to name them.
Just the one. Listen,
Exactly.
I agree with a lot of what you've said in terms of the frustration, the way your run is a joke. But this is also what I said to you about the appointment of Jose. That decision was a joke decision. It went against everything you'd built under Maurizio Pochettino. It was almost like, it reminds me, I don't know if you've experienced this in life, Alex, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but sometimes somebody will be in a relationship with a certain type of person, someone that they get on with, they complement each other well, and they break up. And sometimes out of bitterness or anger, you go find somebody else very, very quickly who's the complete opposite to that person. It normally ends badly. It's kind of like a rebound relationship, essentially. Jose Mourinho was Tottenham's rebound, and the rebound went wrong. But it's because your club isn't being run right. And in terms of the managers you're linked with, the 3 biggest sort of Prem-connected names, Parker, Potter, Rodgers, but Rodgers isn't going to come. Rodgers has already rejected. I mean, did you ever think a Leicester City manager would reject Tottenham? It's mad, right?
I never thought he was going to come anyway. And
Scott Parker and Graham Potter, are they good enough to get you back to the promised land?
I don't like those managers. I don't like them. The only reason why I would want Parker is if we got Rangnick in, but I don't think that's going to happen because I can't say certain things that I've heard about what's going on. I can't say anything. But
why can't you say it?
It's a difficult one. It's just something I heard. It's something I've heard from.
What is it? You heard?
I can't say. I don't know.
You can't do that.
Just do some research on it, and you'll find out. I don't know. I don't want to say it.
Do research on what? I can't Google. What does Alex know that I don't? I'm not going to get.
Right. It's a Rangnick, but I don't want to go on about it too much anyway. But the main thing is we could have beaten them 10-0, 16-0, 20-0. Like Sheffield United, we could have beaten them 25-0. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference if you don't have a bloody plan. That's the problem.
Are you worried about? Do you think you're going to lose Harry Kane?
Look, it doesn't matter whether we've got lose Harry Kane, mate. It's like the Berbatov situation. If you've got no plan, right? No, listen to me, Terry. Before you make your faces, right? Listen to me, right? If Harry Kane goes or stays, you need a plan. We haven't got a plan whether he stays or goes. So, I mean, he's looking at it thinking, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? So
no, I do understand that, but I know you say it doesn't matter, but clearly your team would be better with him, right?
I understand what you're saying, but the frustration for me is that even if he stays or goes, whether he goes, you should have a plan what to do next. You see what I'm saying? All I hear is
I do. I know. I do hear that. You seem very frustrated and angry at your club, and I do get that, Alex. Listen, bro, thank you for coming on and having your top man. Thank you, Alex. Next up, KJ's here. What you saying, bro?
Why would you put me on after Alex, bro? Now I can't focus, fam.
I'm very sorry.
No, that's right. Alex with the Waffle House, as per usual, the CEO and that. How can you not be happy with Potter or Parker, bro? You guys are Spurs, fam. It is what it is. Know what they need to do, yeah? They just need. I've been saying it, and I'll say it again. They need to accept where they are and go and do a Dortmund style of model until you get a quality players again. Bring in young talent and young managers, build the team up, see if you can do something with that, win a cup maybe, and then sell them on, make a profit, and then go and invest again. Because they're not going to get an owner who spends billions of pounds on their club. ENIC aren't going anywhere. There's big up to the Spurs fans who went to the protest. I hope Alex was there too and that, you know what I'm saying? But big up to the Spurs fans that's going to the protest. But they're going to have to keep the effort up before these men even blink, because Levy is a pagan, bro. And so is ENIC. So it's going to be peak for them. So they need to hopefully get in a manager like Potter, like Parker, and let them grow with the team. Let them grow with the squad. Look at what Brendan Rodgers is doing at Leicester. He don't spend millions of pounds on players. He gets the right players. They need to invest more in their recruitment than they really do their next manager.
Yeah, I also think as well, if they went and landed a star manager who's expected to win things, like a name like a Jose, not the same style as Jose, but the name, the expectations are there to start winning instantly. You bring in a Potter, you bring in a Scott Parker. I'm looking at some of the other names in there as well. Even if you brought in a Maurizio Sarri, I don't think there's suddenly an expectation to be title winners within a couple of years or winning all the domestic trophies. It gives you that ability to kind of relax on those expectations a little bit, because Spurs, what people have got to remember is, whether they like it or not, you're right. They're not going to spend like City or Chelsea. They're not going to spend like Man United. They're not going to spend as frequently as the Liverpools, even as Arsenal, because Arsenal are going to end up spending big soon to try and get back into things. So they've got to do it a different way. And I think Leicester's model, with a little bit more money being spent, can work, because they've got that stadium. They're in London. There's so many things to be positive about as a Spurs fan, if you're run right, if you're run correctly, and they're not. A few people asking, could you see Zidane going there?
Hell no, bro. Zidane ain't winning 3 Champions Leagues and La Ligas. He's gonna go to Spurs when they got no money and no control.
Oh,
like
yeah.
He ain't going there, bro. Like, he ain't. Like, literally, Spurs fans need to relax on this manager thing. You got gassed over Nagelsmann, didn't happen. Got gassed over Ten Hag, didn't happen. Literally, the 3 managers I think that would be good for Spurs to grow with: Graham Potter, Scott Parker, and Gasperini at Atalanta.
Mate,
those managers there you can grow with and give him a squad, and they could do something. Think
about Poch as an example. He was the ex-Espanyol and Southampton manager when they got him. He didn't come into them with a Jose-esque, Zidane-esque reputation. He didn't even come in at the time with a Nagelsmann expectation of being the next great up-and-coming manager. He didn't. And I just think Spurs have got to go back. And I know a lot of Spurs fans think I'm salty. They've got to go back to their roots. They've got to go back to what works at their level.
It's the pressure that killed. I think it's the pressure that's killed Spurs. All this pressure for this club and these players to then grow on to become this amazing team has been too much for them. When they had no pressure, when they was like, oh, it's Spurs, yeah, like they could do something. That's when they're hitting top 4. That's when they'll start to hit form and make a good team. They need to go back to those roots, man. Get a manager who's up and coming, buy players who are up and coming, grow them over a 5-year period, and see what you come at the end of it. Because at the end of the day, what have they got to lose? It's not like they win things.
Yeah, no. I agree. It's not like they're going to go from winning Premier Leagues with record points to sit in like 5th, 6th in the league. They are where they are. And even their best season in the Prem, where they kind of challenge against Leicester, they still only finished 3rd in terms of league positions and standings. And they've just got to go back to what they're good at doing. But listen, everyone who has tuned in, thank you. We're back live after West Brom Liverpool that has just kicked off. Midnight Vibes on tonight? Yes, Midnight Vibes back tonight, of course, with man like KJ. So everyone who's tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Take care. Goodbye.